Hey, good Friday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majestic back with you here in the North Georgia Majestic Studios with the weather report, exclusively for you Facebook subscribers and YouTube members here on your July the 10th, 2026. It also happens to be Free Sampler Friday, so everybody gets today's report. So if you'd like to help support our efforts to build this 24-hour channel, you can please become a subscriber there on Facebook, or you can become a member on YouTube and get this weekday daily report in your feed every day so you can stay up on the latest changes and the long-range look here in our forecast. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on out there this morning. Pretty quiet out there. You see Blairsville, Helen, Braselton, and Dahlonega looking pretty good. Had a couple of showers early this morning, but they've kind of fizzled on out once again. But again, a quiet start across the region. So we're going to start out with a lot of sunshine and some clouds here and there. So kind of a mostly sunny, partly sunny type start to the day. And we've kind of seen a forecast that's kind of stuck on repeat. A beautiful sky there over Athens for this morning. A nice looking sunrise there over Dahlonega as well, over the UNG campus. So the temperature's not going to be all that different today. However, as we go into next week, we are going to see a brief break from the heat. And I do mean brief for a couple days before things begin to heat back up. Dalton looking pretty quiet out there for this morning. Oh, we seem to miss that train, but just off by just a little bit. And also looking over here towards Sky Valley, Northeast Georgia. Good day to play golf. And I will tell you this much. If you got any golf games scheduled for the weekend, definitely make sure you do those early because the rain chances are going to be coming up through the weekend, my friend. And we're going to be a little damp in some places. So let's look at our current map out there this morning. We got a lot of temperatures out here in the 70s here across North Georgia. You see this decaying storms coming down this way. And that's going to be the trend, folks. We're going to have these kind of waves of showers and storms that are going to kind of be coming in and out of across our area. So we're not talking about like an all-day rain event. We're talking about a high rain chance, decent rain coverage here, and there could be some localized heavy rains. There could be some flooding risk. Now, we don't officially have anything in flood watch territory for North Georgia yet, but the potential's there. We could see it through the weekend. There's a satellite imagery. Again, you see that some of those clouds coming in. So we're going to have some of this filtered sunshine in here for today initially. And as you can see, the storms are decaying. You see the brighter cloud tops kind of losing their punch a little bit. But don't worry, we got the daytime heating, and we're going to be plenty warm again this afternoon, upper 80s, low 90s. We'll fire up some more storms again later this afternoon. We had some yesterday, and we had some severe weather yesterday, and we're probably going to see that again, not only for today, but through the weekend as well. So let's first talk about the excessive rain threat, okay? So there you can see there they've added the yellow here across North Georgia. So, and when I show you some of the rainfall totals, you'll see kind of why. So you see that up in this area. So we're talking 15% chance of some localized heavy flooding. And this zone, we're talking about 5% in the green. So again, so we're looking at that here for the weekend. Oops, clear that off. And again, you look here at Saturday, same thing, very decent coverage of rain, some heavy rains in with this. Then it starts to back off going into Sunday. Monday still looking wet, and then by Tuesday, here it comes. Finally get some dry weather in here as we go in toward Tuesday. So it's definitely staying wet through the weekend, right through Monday, and then we'll see things begin to improve. All right, let's talk about severe weather, okay? So right now you can start to see where the clusters of storms are. You see this yellow pocket up here. We're in this zone here, so we're kind of in that green zone here for today. This is your Friday outlook, day one. But look what happens here as we go through the weekend, all right? Going into tomorrow, we'll have to watch this closely because we have this slight risk that's sneaking into extreme northwest Georgia. We'll have to watch that closely to see if they expand that area or not going in for tomorrow. So it's possible. I'm not going to rule that out. But you see that going in for Saturday. And then Sunday, everybody's still under the marginal risk as well. So just know that we might see some hefty thunderstorms and potential for a few isolated severe are in the cards. The main thing with these thunderstorms, especially this time of year, is that they tend to pulse up, get real strong, dump real quick, and they can pulse up severe briefly. So that's usually the lifespan of these type of storms. All right. Now, quickly out into the tropics. Tropics remain quiet, which is not unusual, folks. It's still only July. I know a lot of folks are trying to make a big deal. It's going to be a slow season regardless because of El Nino, strong winds across the Atlantic. So anything that develops, we'll be kind of looking closer to home for anything to develop here, like in the Gulf and off the southeast coast. Anything that's out over the Gulf, that's going to get torn to shreds because of high winds generated by El Nino. Wind shear is something that tropical systems don't like. So right now, the official forecast from Colorado State the other day said only 9 named storms for the season. Normal's 14, and we typically go above that, so it's definitely going to be a much slower season. Now, let's look at the radar again. We got a quiet radar out there for this morning. Again, we were tracking there were a couple of isolated showers here just south of the Blue Ridge area early this morning, but that's since fizzled on out. Current conditions out there, mostly upper 60s and lower 70s once again, and these will be pretty much holding status quo here through the weekend. So let's go look at the models here. We're going to look at the rapid refresh model first. Very active. It's going to be in swarms. They're really not even, just know that when we get into the early afternoon hours, after afternoon, 1 o'clock, air's pretty buoyant. We're going to get these waves of showers and thunderstorms through the evening hours, then die down overnight, and we'll do it again. Right now, the best rain chances are tracking for Sunday and Monday right now. And looks like we dry out as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week before we heat back up again. All right, so there's that. Now, remember what we're talking about as far as the rain totals. Look at this. I mean, this is why I think we might see some flood watch. There's 5 inches there in Dalton. There's 5 inches there in over there in Chattanooga. You see a little pocket of their high one there. There's 3 inches over here. So it's potentially possible we get a flood watch here issued for parts of North Georgia for the weekend. So if you just watch for my postings over on Facebook and just keep an watchful eye on that. All right. Now let's talk about the temperatures. All right. Today, pretty much the same as it's been the last 3 days. I barely had to tweak the forecast numbers here. It makes it kind of easy from a forecasting perspective. But as we go through the weekend, we are going to cool things off, especially going into early next week, Monday and Tuesday especially. All right. So as we go here into going in for tonight and going for tomorrow morning, again, we'll see a few upper 60s in the mountains, everybody else in the 70s. But notice how warm it is down here. We're talking upper 70s down here in the morning. That just tells you how moist and humid the temperature is starting to get out there. So it's definitely going to get a little muggier here for the weekend with that high rain chance coming on in here. And then going into your Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock, not quite as bad. Not seeing as many 90s out there for the day. Then we'll watch the storms kind of flare up in the afternoon. So the storms will start firing up a little bit earlier, so it's not going to get quite as hot through the weekend. All right, so just know if you got anything to do it in the morning, because the afternoons, it's going to be kind of a gamble at that point. All right, let's talk about the jet stream. All right, we're still tracking this big heat dome out in the west. What I'm currently seeing on this loop of the jet stream is it looks like we're going to stay a little bit on the wet side for about a week, and then we're going to dry out again for about a week after that. So let me slow this down for you. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, let's kind of loop all the way through here, and we're going to see what I'm talking about here. All right, let's get this thing all the way through. There we go. All right, now, so we've got the heat dome right there. You see it there? We've been talking about this for days on end. So here's the heat dome right here. We still got this troughiness in here. So that means we're going to stay unsettled as we go in early next week. All right. Still got the trough there. Still see it still reestablishing itself even going into the following weekend. So going into next weekend, here's the high. Here's the trough. That should cool us down a little bit going into next weekend. But then after that, look what happens here now. That high pressure ridge out in the west starts to shift back to the east. So by the time we get to the end of this run, it's sitting back over here. So what that means is we might see a return of the heat dome, potentially long range. Remember, this is a long range outlook. This is a 2-week outlook, very subject to change. So what we'll be watching, like we were watching the other heat dome, is to see if it's still there tomorrow or going into early next week for next week's update. We'll be watching that closely. All right. But for right now, it looks like we're going to be wet for about a week or so, 7 to 10 days. And then we're really going to dry out after that if this model trend holds. All right, so let's talk about the forecast again. Very wet. It says high rain chances here going into next week. We do dry out by the time we get to Wednesday or so. We got a couple systems that go over into the following weekend, and then after that, it's going to dry out. So let me slow this down again here for the weekend. So again, Saturday, you see these storms coming on through. There's Saturdays. See decent coverage there. There's Sunday afternoon. Look at that Sunday, very high. Very good coverage there. Monday coverage is pretty decent there. There's Monday too. So Monday's looking very wet all right through the weekend. The European says, yep, we're staying wet too. Tuesday, Not quite as bad. We still look a little bit wet on the wet side there. I've got us kind of drying out. I'm expecting that front to come on through here a little bit, but the European says nope. Hold on, might stay wet on Tuesday. So Tuesday, we'll put a little question mark on that Tuesday forecast. All right. Right now, I got us drying out. Wednesday, kind of spotty. There it goes on Wednesday. Wednesday's finally pushing that thing to these. We got a front, backdoor cold front. It's kind of going this way. So Wednesday's slowing it down a little bit on this overnight model run. All right, and then we're kind of dry after that. And then we got another front coming in on Friday. See this other front right there? Boom, that's coming on Saturday, depending on the timing on that thing. And then after that, there ain't a lot there to show you there after that Saturday. Remember where that jet flattens out? Very dry after that. All right, so look at your, this is your 7-day rain total. And it's showing a little bit of a rain shadow here. That's because you got the moisture blowing this way. And sometimes the mountains can steal that. I know you guys in Northeast Georgia need the rain. I really hope y'all get some because y'all have been, that's where the highest drought conditions are still showing level 3 up that way. All right, so this is your 7-day total. But I want you to watch what happens here when I take you out to 10-day. We're adding a little bit here. That's 10-day. And then watch what happens from 10 all the way to the end of this run, the last 4 days. Not adding a lot there. Very, very quiet. So we'll see if that trend holds going into next week. All right, let's talk about temperatures. We're going to get a break. Enjoy it. We don't get these very often in July, but that's what we're going to be seeing. So, again, looking at your Saturday, kind of below normal here. Going into your Sunday afternoon. Looks pretty average on Sunday. Look what happens when the rain starts to fall. Way below normal there on Sunday afternoon. Monday morning. I posted this yesterday. Monday looked like it was going to be the coolest day. This is 11 o'clock. Look at that. Wow. And staying below normal there pretty much all day. So Monday's below normal. Tuesday remains below normal. Obviously, high rain chance there. How about Wednesday? Wednesday, getting closer to normal, looks like a little bit. It's looking a little more seasonable by Wednesday. And then by Thursday, we're getting closer. Now we're getting seeing the red back in here. So we're going to warm back up in the next week. And then going to Friday, finally Friday, last day, looks like a seasonable day there too as well. All right. Temperatures. Let's look at that. We already looked at Saturdays. Let's start from the Sunday. So here's your Sunday 2 o'clock temps, and then the rain starts to fall. So what's going to happen is your high temperatures are going to be a little bit earlier in the day, and then we get a little wet, right? And then going into your Wednesday afternoon, same thing. Look at a break. Look at this. 82 in Gainesville, 77 LJ, 77 in Hiawassee. Rain breaks out. Not moving all that much. So much cooler on Monday. Going your Tuesday, same thing. Not changing that much. But as we go into Wednesday, starting to warm back up. There you go. Starting to warm back up again. Getting closer to normal. Thursday. Back there. Thursday. Now you're seeing 90s back in here, back to normal temperatures. So you know what you're expecting. You're going to see temperatures fairly seasonable the weekend. A couple of cool days there, Monday and Tuesday. Then we start to warm right back up. That's what we're seeing going into next week. We got one more day to look at. We look at the 7-day on the European here. So by next Friday, 89, 88, 90. Yeah, we're getting back closer to normal here as we go to the end of next week. So, climate outlook. I do disagree. This climate outlook goes from Wednesday next week and beyond. They totally missed the total a couple of cool days we're going to have in here. So, they're showing above normal temperatures here on the climate outlook. This again from the 15th to the 19th, and then the 17th to the 23rd. Staying with above normal temperatures. Now, the second part of this I kind of agree with because remember we were seeing that high pressure ridge start to build back over the southeast once again. Precipitation wise, they did back off the rain a little bit here. They were kind of really aggressive wet yesterday. So they backed off that a little bit. So I think we're wet here for the next week or so. 7 to 10 days looks active. And then beyond this, we could potentially see the brown start to return back in here again if the long range European is correct right now. All right. So that's what we're seeing in that neighborhood. So anyway, that is y'all's update. Let's take a look at the 7-day. Here's my forecast real quick. Again, rain chances increasing. Sunday, Monday, your best rain chances. Tuesday, let's put a question mark on that. European says, at least new one came in and says, hey, we're not going to clear out as fast. So that rain chance on Tuesday may come up a little bit more. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we dry out. Notice I got us back in the low 90s by Thursday of next week. We got us kind of warming back up near normal. All right. So there's y'all's update. Again, appreciate you guys checking us out. And hope folks are enjoying the new 24-hour channel. My only problem I'm having is not with the Streamology and everything that is here. It's actually YouTube itself, for whatever reason, shutting the channel down sometimes. And so I'm having to, restart it and everything else there and reset it. So I'll keep an eye on it. We'll see how it's going. Again, work in progress. I'm glad to have Mountains in Maine here as a partner. She does some great work, feature stuff on Facebook. So we want to include that as part of our community wheel. And then there's one other person I want to try to reach out to see if they'd be interested in providing some content for the Weather Channel as well. So we're going to keep to make it better. And right now, my goal right now is just keep saving the money for the weather computer so the look will be a little more traditional, like with current temperatures and satellite imagery and stuff like that. I can't do it with what I've got right now. But if we get to that goal, get that big computer, that'll be very helpful. So again, appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Y'all be good, stay safe, have a great weekend. I will be working Fox 5 this weekend at 6, 10, and 11. You guys can check me out there over the weekend. All right, you guys have a great day, great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Thanks again.